Hello, thanks for joining me again. Today what I'm going to look at is some small items. I know there's a lot of people that do pen turning and we're not hugely into pens. We might be one day, you never know. But we do appreciate that a lot of people have small lathes and turn small things. And we actually do quite a few products for those. I've got a few here. And that's a Brooch Blank that we do. Quite an unusual one with a long clip. We do a little badge thing there. We've got some badge mounts somewhere as well. Gold and silver cufflinks that we do, and we also do quite a popular one is a bookmark blank there. These all take very small discs in here, and this week we've had a new product. We had the opportunity to get some rhodium plated cufflinks a little bit bigger, which are those ones there. So I'm going to open this packet. I don't think there's going to be anything particularly major about showing you how to do these. I think most people could probably work it out for themselves, but I'll show you how to do it, and it'll give you an opportunity hopefully to see a little bit of wood, not particularly special wood. I've got some burr ash today that I'm going to use in these cufflinks, and it'll give you an idea of the colour, shape, size and how they look when they're finished. So hopefully you'll stay with me and we'll see what they turn out like at the end. So here is one of the cufflinks. I'll just hold that up to the camera so you can see. We like these ones because they're flat on the side and flat in the centre, unlike some of the other ones that we do and that are on the market. So these should lend themselves to a slightly easier fitting when it comes to inserting something in there. As I said, these are rhodium plated, rhodium being one of the most precious metals on the planet. I'm sure this is very thin because they're really not very expensive. They're not solid rhodium. Because they're small, we obviously only need a small piece of wood to start with, and what I've got is a little bit of burr ash, as I said earlier here. I'm just going to cut this into 4 sections, and it would probably make this little block. I'm guessing now, but I would think probably 5 or 6 pairs of cufflinks. Depends how big a piece you put in each one, of course. But I'm going to cut this into 4 and mount it on the chuck on the lathe. My little blank in the chuck here, I'm just going to turn this round, and obviously it depends how long a piece you've got as to how much you'll get out for the cufflinks. This is about a finger width thick, but we'll start off with just turning it round. Having got this round, I'm now going to look to make this the correct diameter all the way along, so we can look at then making the shapes afterwards. We might want it flat, we might want it slightly beveled on the top, we'll see. But the first thing I need to do is to get a measurement from the cufflink, and that's telling me 18.23 millimeters. So we're looking for slightly bigger than 18.23 millimeters. I use digital calipers. You may prefer wood turners calipers. I find these a little bit more accurate, but I'm going to just increase the size of this and use the wood turning calipers to get roughly the right size, and then I'm actually going to use the cufflink itself on the blank to get a good fit before we look at trimming them off. One of the problems here is that I've got my extractor in the way, so it's a bit difficult for me to get the right angle on that, but I have now trimmed that to the right, roughly the right diameter on there with these calipers. So what I'm now going to do is just level that piece off all the way along to be the same. There, we've got that just about right in there. So we can now look at how deep we want each one to be and decide what shape we want on the end. For mine, I'm going to have a little domed top, so I'm just going to add the dome onto that now. So I've got a little domed top here, and I now need to decide where I'm actually going to inset the cufflinks to. So what I need to do is get, I don't know whether the camera can quite pick up, there's a little edge on there, and I need that little edge and mark a certain point on here, the correct depth in the cufflink. I've used calipers to measure the depth of this, and it says 1.9 millimeters. As far as wood tin is concerned, that's 2mm. I don't think 0.1 of a millimetre is very practical when it comes to turning wood. Some of course may disagree with me. So I'm just going to use those calipers on there and just put a very small mark where they need to be cut off. Of course, if you had a marking knife that would be ideal, but unfortunately I don't, so I'm using a very sharp pencil and I'm marking by eye on there, and hopefully that'll give you a chance to actually see the mark that I put on as well. So I'm not sure whether the camera can quite pick up that little pencil mark, but that's the point I'm going to cut off, and I'm just going to get my parting tool to part that off. And I've got a very thin parting tool because otherwise I'm going to end up wasting more of the wood than I actually turn. Now it's important when you're doing this bit that you make sure that you go absolutely level through here, because we need a nice flush fit into the cufflink. What I'm now going to do is just double check the diameter I've got on this bit. I've got 18.43. It's just fractionally wider than will actually fit into the cufflink. But what I'm going to do now, because I'm going to finish this, is just use a little bit of sandpaper and get it down to the right diameter by actually sanding. That looks quite good. Now I've had several people ask me how do you get rid of the little nib on there. Normally each bit of wood is different, but I will actually hand sand that down if I have a little nib sticking out. I'm now going to seal this, apply the finish, part it off and check it in the cufflink to make sure that it fits, and then we can carry on and do exactly the same with another one directly behind it. I've been experimenting again this morning, as I do from time to time, and I've got some mitre adhesive in this little thing. I don't think the camera will pick it up. A tiny little bit of mitre adhesive, which is basically CA glue, and I've thinned it down with a bit of cellulose thinners just to see if it would thin down to apply on here, and it seems so far to have worked. So I'm just going to try and apply a little bit on here. I'm going to put another coat on here now, but this is going to be with the glue that hasn't been thinned. I'll put a slightly thicker coat on. Then you need a tiny amount of this to go on there, and I've got way too much on there. What you have to be careful of with this stuff is you don't do what I've just done and stick your finger to the paper, or anything even worse than that. I think that's gone off on its own, but we'll put a little spray on just to make sure. I'm now just going to sand this off, and then I'm going to use some of our acrylic paste on here to do a final polish on the top to get hopefully a very nice shiny finish. You can of course use whatever finish that you like. And I've got some of our acrylic polishing paste here that I've had in the workshop for some time, and if you have this and don't use it very often, this has got a little dry. You can always just put a little bit of oil in it to re-liven it up again. I'm just going to polish this off, not too fast with the acrylic paste, otherwise it gets hot. So there we have hopefully quite a nice finish. I have got a little ring, and the reason I've got a little ring there was my application of the finish, mainly because the bit of paper stuck to my finger. But there we go, we can see that's quite a nice finish. If I can get a close-up of that. bit too close. There we go. Hopefully you can see it's quite a nice finish. There's a little bit of paste left on the edge, and we're now just going to part this off. But before we do, let's just double check that we've still got the right diameter. That might be just a fraction wide, so I'm just going to sand off just the edge. Remember, we're not going to see the edge because that's going to be inside the cufflink. And you need something like a dovetail saw. I've got an old dovetail saw here, just to remove that. And just hold it on the other side there. And then find it when it drops on the floor as it just has. And there it is, retrieved from underneath the lathe, and it doesn't look anything particularly special, but hopefully when we pop that and just check the fit that we've got into the cufflink, that's actually popped in, and I don't think I'm even going to need to glue that in. And there we have one cufflink that fits in extremely well. We could polish it even more if we wanted to, but what I'm now going to do is repeat the process, so we've got a pair of cufflinks. And if you're wondering about the tool I'm using, this is one of the homemade tools that I made in a previous video not so long ago, and that one has been on the grinding wheel and has been sharpened on a jig. So here's the first one we've made. We'll put that to one side. Take the second one and we'll just, really should put a bit of glue in there. If this is like the first one, it'll probably go in so tight I won't manage to get it out again in order to glue it. So putting a bit of glue in first is ideal. And we'll just press that in there, and you might have heard that click as it goes in. And there we have a pair of rhodium plated cufflinks with burr ash in the centres. Well, there's not a lot of wood left in this one. I think perhaps I was being a little optimistic when I said earlier that you'd probably get 5 or 6 pairs. I think out of that block, and the other 3 blocks are here, as you can see. That just shows I haven't cheated as well and done any outtakes. We have to cut the video down obviously, otherwise it'd be full of me turning and sanding, which gets a bit boring. But those are the 3 other blocks from that original square. And there we can see we have, if I hold those up to the camera, hopefully you'll see, I'll take a still of them later, but a pair of quite nice burr ash cufflinks with quite a nice finish on them. So as always, I hope that's been helpful to one or two of you. Any questions, please feel free to ask. Do follow us on Facebook. Hopefully we put some interesting stuff up there, and as always we hope you visit the website and find a kit that you'll enjoy making. Thanks very much for joining us again. We'll see you again soon, hopefully. Bye bye now.